Hello students, this is Dr. Ranjini from Department of Biotechnology. Welcome to e-learning platform. Today we learn about functions of plasma membrane. Functionally, membranes take part in several cellular activities covering motility, energy transduction in lower unicellular organisms, 2. Immunorecognition in higher eukaryotes. Immunorecognition means the membrane receptors of the pathogens or the microorganisms will be recognized by specific proteins which are distributed on the surface of the host cell. This is called immunorecognition. So these specific proteins may be antibodies or the proteins which are involved in immune reactions. The most valuable function is segregation of cell into compartments. Due to the presence of the plasma membrane, we can differentiate each cell from its adjacent cell. So this compartmentalization will be done by plasma membrane. This functional diversity is due to the variability in lipid and protein composition of the membranes. Coming to the functions, the various functions can be summarized as below. First we'll take up diffusion. Diffusion of small molecules such as carbon dioxide, oxygen and water happens by passive transport. Before understanding the functions of plasma membrane, here we should know three types or the transport in the plasma membrane. One is passive transport, another one is active transport, third one is facilitated transport. Passive transport, as the name suggests, there is no expenditure of ATP or energy from the host cell. That's why it is called as passive transport. Second one is active transport. Here the cell spends its energy or ATP will be utilized for the transfer of molecules between or through the plasma membrane. It is called active transport. In certain conditions, the molecules, specific molecules will be passed through the membrane through certain specific process is called as facilitated transport, and the proteins help, these proteins which are present in the plasma membrane help in the movement of the molecules through the plasma membrane. So these passive, active and facilitated transport will be observed in the various function of plasma membrane. Here in diffusion, the small molecules such as carbon dioxide, oxygen and water happens by passive transport from their higher concentration to the lower concentration without expenditure of energy. So that's why it is called passive transport. Next comes the osmosis. Here the cell membrane, what we know about plasma membrane, it's a semi-permeable membrane. It will not allow all the molecules to pass through. Hence it is called semi-permeable. Which is required will be entering inside the cell. At the same time, the molecules which are not required by the cell will be extruded out of the cell by the plasma membrane. So the molecules from the higher concentration to lower concentration, they pass through this membrane. That is called semi-permeable membrane, and this process is called as osmosis. Osmosis is the diffusion of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration through the plasma membrane. And here by osmosis, the solvents such as water will be moving in and out of the plasma membrane. Third one is mediated transport. As I told earlier, in the various methods of transportation, passive, active and facilitated transport. Here this is the example, mediated transport. Here nutrients are moved across the membrane by special proteins. And this is an example for facilitated transport, and the proteins which are involved in the transportation of the specific molecule across the membranes, they are called as transport proteins, or otherwise they are termed as permeases, which are quite specific. They will not allow the, or they will not pick up the random proteins or the random molecules across the plasma membrane. They specifically recognize and transport only a limited group of chemical substances, sometimes even single substance. So this is an example for facilitated transport or mediated transport. Here specific proteins which are present on the cell membrane allow the specific molecules to pass through the membrane, and they are called as the transport proteins or permeases. Next is endocytosis. Endocytosis is a process in which cells absorb the molecules by engulfing them, small molecules and ions, and sometimes even macromolecules, through active transport which requires ATP. Endocytosis, there will be engulfment of the molecules takes place. Sometimes while engulfing the macromolecules, there will be expenditure of ATP also. So this is an example for active transport. Next is exocytosis. Plasma membrane can extrude its contents to the surrounding medium to remove undigested residues of the substances brought in by endocytosis. Exocytosis, here it extrudes the unwanted material or undigested residues that are brought in by endocytosis, or to secrete substances such as hormones and enzyme, and to transport a substance completely across cellular barrier. So we observe exocytosis to remove the unwanted material or extrude the contents to the surrounding media, or in secretion of certain substances such as hormones and enzymes, and in transportation of substances completely across the cellular barrier. So this process is called exocytosis. Next, another one is cell adhesion. Plasma membrane has the capacity of coalescing with the another plasma membrane. During cell division, the invagination of the plasma membrane takes place, and there will be formation of the two daughter cells. And here, when the invagination comes in contact with one another, they coalesce or they join, and they form the single barrier, or they form the single layer of plasma membrane. So this coalescing activity plays an important role in cell adhesion. Next is cell signaling. On the surface of the plasma membrane, we have specific molecules which play an important role in signal transduction, in transducing the signal of the pathogen perception or the specific molecules near its vicinity or near its surface. So all those will be sensed by the signal, and this signal will be transported to the adjacent cell or within the cell itself or to the nucleus. The signal will be the transduced, and this play an important role in carrying out various metabolic reactions and in fighting the clearing the pathogens which cause the disease in the host organism. I hope you understood the functions of plasma membrane. You should remember active transport, passive transport and facilitated transport. Apart from that, you should remember the exocytosis, endocytosis, compartmentalization, cell adhesion and cell signaling. Thank you.